The Adventures of Henry R. Schoolcraft from his Journal of 1818-1819, Part 2, this concerning beaver trapping. We continue the expedition on January 6, 1819, as Mr. Schoolcraft is talking about beavers. I quote, "In the course of the last 2 days we have also passed upon different streams the habitation of beavers, an animal so highly valued for its fur, and which differs from other quadrupeds in having chosen that part of the vegetable creation for its sustenance which is rejected by all others, the bark of trees. To procure this, it is provided with 2 large teeth in the underjaw, set with an astonishing firmness and resembling chisels, by which it is enabled to gnaw or cut down saplings or even large trees. When down, they completely peel these, preferring, however, the bark of the smaller limbs and twigs which are young, tender, and full of sap." Mr. Schoolcraft attaches something akin to a degree of intelligence to the varmints in the construction of dams. He records, "Often they so contrive it as to make the logs fall into the water, where they serve to stop and collect all floating limbs and brush, making a kind of dam which supplies them with food without the labor of gnawing down large trees. There are a few descriptions of wood, the bark of which they will not eat. Thus they attack the maple, mulberry, black walnut, and elm, nor does the astringent and bitter properties of the oak prevent them from making it an article of food. They prefer, however, all barks which have an aromatic or spicy flavor, and from the number of trees we find peeled, possesses a high relish for several kinds of laurus, which abounds in the valleys in this region, particularly spicewoods and sassafras. Being web-footed, their favorite region is the water, and they seldom venture far from the banks of the stream they inhabit, and never travel on the neighboring highlands. They burrow into the banks of the stream above the water level so that they lie dry, but the mouths of their habitation are situated below the waters so that it enters them from a distance, and they cannot get out without diving into the water. By this sagacious contrivance they at once exclude the cold air from their habitation, and prevent their being entered by animals which cannot endure to live under water. It is probable that many of their natural enemies are thus barred from their prey. All other species which has been endowed with sufficient sagacity and foresight for its own preservation by habitats and customs peculiar to itself, is also endowed with some peculiar taste and habitats and propensities, which are prone to work its own destruction, and so the beaver, which has wisdom enough to cut down trees and form dams, and elude the vigilance of its enemies, both man and beast, in 100 ways, yet falls a sacrifice to its passion for high, sweet-scented herbs and spicy barks. It is by a skillful preparation of these that beaver trappers are able to take such quantities of them. A natural musky substance taken from the stomach of the beaver serves as the principal article in the composition of the bait which is put into the trap. Some sassafras and other barks and fragrant herbs are added, the exact proportions and methods of preparation being a secret only known to those who are skilled in trapping and who are unwilling to communicate the information. On January 19, 1819, Schoolcraft and Pettibone came upon a hunter's cabin at the mouth of a beaver creek. The cabin belonged to a Mr. Yoakum, who readily gave the duo permission to spend the night. But Schoolcraft tells the story best, so let's go back to his narrative. "Here, among other wild meats, we were invited at supper as a particular mark of respect to partake of a roasted beaver's tail, one of the greatest dainties known to the Missouri hunter. Having heard much said among the hunters concerning the peculiar flavor and delicious richness of the dish, I highly gratified in having an opportunity of judging for myself, and accepted with avidity the offer of our host. The tail of this animal, unlike every other part of it, is covered with a thick, scaly skin resembling in texture certain fish, and in shape similar to a paper folder or the bow of a lady's corset, tapering a little toward the end and pyramidal on the lateral edges. It is cooked by roasting before the fire, when the skin peels off, and it is eaten simply with salt. It has a mellow, luscious taste, melting in the mouth somewhat like marrow, and being in taste something intermediate between that and boiled perch. To this compound flavor of the fish and marrow it has, in the way in which the hunter eats, eats it, a slight disagreeable smell of oil. Could this be removed by some culinary process? It would undoubtedly be received on the table of the epicure with the greatest delight.